Whoops. Welcome all. This is a live moment here on YouTube exclusively for Tech Niche Tips. This is another live, and it's going to be me alone. So I'm glad to see you. If you're here, just go ahead and introduce yourself. Say, hey, what's up? And the reason why I wanted to do this on YouTube exclusively this morning here at 10 a.m. Eastern is because this is technically the 100th video of this channel. I mean, the 100th video. I couldn't imagine that we would have made it this far. I started doing this in January 5th after landing a job in tech sales, and it really was an opportunity for me to give back in the sense of not just only talking about my experience, but also talking about the experiences of those that I've either admired, met along the way, saw from a distance, and felt like, man, it would be great to hear their story. And just for those who don't know, this channel was birthed because people that I was speaking to who said, man, you should just talk about your experiences. You should just share a few things. And one thing I always wanted to find when I was going through this tech journey was to find stories of people that have not only, that have gotten to the mountaintop, but really kind of hearing their story, like what they went through, all the things they experienced and the hurdles that they had to overcome. Because to me, that made me feel like if they could overcome it, then I could overcome it as well. And so to imagine from January 5th of this year to now, we reached 100 episode videos. And to see that is truly remarkable. So my hat's off to you, those that are the viewers that are watching, because without you, this wouldn't have happened. So I definitely am appreciative of you. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it because I know I could talk a lot. But this episode, this live is going to be about company trips, right? So if you are watching this live with me, I want you to answer this question and feel free to put it down in the chat section below. But have you ever been on a company trip? And if so, where did you go? I'm just curious. If you have been on a company trip before, where did you go? And so that's the question that I wanted to start this off with, but I don't want to delay this because I think that this information is good. It's helpful. And even if it means that we don't have a lot of people on this live right now, which I'm assuming people will be joining soon, but even if we don't have a lot of people on this live, what I want to do is just to get right into it. I want to make sure I provide you value in this live so that way you can take notes and be better prepared than I was for your next company trip. Now, with that being said, tip number one that I would give to anybody who is looking to go on a company trip is exactly that. Prepare in advance. Now, when I say prepare in advance, you might basically say, yeah, I understand that. Prepare in advance, pack your luggage. I agree. But I'm going to go into more detail about that and also other things as well. First thing I would say, you definitely want to prepare in advance in regards to what you're going to be wearing. You want to do research on where you're going, what the temperature is going to be like, and obviously you want to pack appropriately for that. One thing I would say not to do is you don't want to underpack, or you don't want to be underprepared for traveling. And so, for example, we went to the nation's capital in February, and if anybody knows the DMV area, around that time, it can be freezing. And so the problem was, if you're coming from like a California, Florida, Arizona, places that typically are warmer, and you're like, hey, I'll just try to figure it out when I get there, you will be very mistaken. It's amazing how many people came and did not have a jacket, didn't have a scarf, gloves. They were definitely shell shocked in the sense of, man, this is not what I expected it to be. So you definitely want to be prepared on that end, right? But you don't want to be like me and be over prepared, because I was over prepared. I literally had an outfit for every occasion and some. And so what ended up happening with me was I had all these, things listed out, all these different things to wear. And when my travel was difficult because of it, I basically, like, plane, train, Uber, all of that. And so for me, it was like, oh man, this is painful. I definitely did not have the luggage that I think I should have. In fact, what I decided to do in preparation to this, I was looking up some luggages, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to share this with the folks. Even though I didn't purchase this, I think this will be a good thing to share. Y'all, if y'all going on a company trip, if you decide to go somewhere, let me see. Let's go back to my screen here. Yeah, if you decide to go on a company trip, definitely get a travel garment bag. Now, I didn't purchase this. This is not what I had, but I'm in hindsight, I was looking at this and I was like, man, I wish I had something like this. A garment bag, not too big, you know, and you could basically put all you want to put in there, and it basically, you could have your clothes, your stuff that are neat set aside, things of that nature, and then you could have your other stuff that basically could go on top of that, and you could have like a travel like a book bag or something like that to go along with it. But this is perfect, man. This right here is perfect for traveling to a weekend event for a company, and basically trying to fit something in there. So I put that link to the description in the YouTube video below. So if you go to the description, you go and you're looking for this luggage, a bag similar to this will be in that description. But don't take my word for it. For again, I didn't buy this bag. This is just something I saw, and I'm like, man, I wish I had this on my trip. And so that's what I would say to prepare in advance in regards to that. Now, here's a other preparation that I think is key to note. You want to also be prepared, and this is something I was able to do a little bit of, and I'm glad that I did. You also want to be prepared in regards to two things that are company specific. How are you going to document your receipts? You want to make sure you have an idea of how you're going to do it. Are you just going to put it in your wallet? Are you going to take pictures of it, which I recommend taking pictures of it, storing it, because on these trips, companies often say, keep your receipts and we'll reimburse you later. So you want to be prepared on how you're going to document that and how you're going to keep it. The other thing in regards to being prepared specifically for the company is you want to do research on who are the main people within the company, VPs, the CEO. You don't want to just know the CEO's name. You want to be able to identify their face so that you're not going up to them and say, hey, who are you again? What do you do here? That's very embarrassing if you go to the CEO and say, yeah, I work at your company, but who are you? You don't want to be one of those people that do that. And be honest. And if I'm honest, it can happen. I remember being on the elevator with someone, and they struck up a conversation with me. I was them and their team, and then I almost said the line, "Who are you?" And I caught myself because I looked at their lanyard. Sometimes they have badges. I looked at that lanyard and I said, "Oh, I know who you are." And everybody laughed in the elevator, and it was a really nice guy, but he was like the SVP in the company, and I won't say for what department, but it was just really good to be familiar with his name, be familiar with his face, even, so that I could have avoided a very embarrassing moment. So you want to be prepared, not just understanding where you're going in regards to luggage, and you also want to make sure you get those reimbursements in there for your receipts and things of that nature. But you also want to be prepared in knowing who are the people within the company that you're speaking to, right? You don't want to be that person. You do not want to be that person. So with that being said, tip number 2 is have fun. Have a good old time. Now, if you see me kind of moving over here, I'm just looking at my notes. But yeah, you want to have fun because my company is a fully remote company, so you don't get the opportunity to meet people like this. So You want to show your personality. You want to show that you are a great person. You don't want to fake the funk. You don't want to be like, hey, be something that you're not. Don't do that. But you want to be able to definitely show your best foot forward, show who you are, and basically so people could see like, oh, this person is a great person to have. I love his personality. I love her personality. I'm glad that they're part of a company, and I'm glad that I'm working with them. Now, even though I said have fun, I'm going to just jump right into tip number 3, which is remember where you are. All right. You want to have fun, but you don't want to have too much fun. As I take a sip of water here, you want to have fun, but you don't have too much fun. Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Feel free to send this to other people as well. And also, I'll put it down here. If you want to bless the brother with some super chats, I'm cool with that as well. But yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for checking this out, and Aldrian. Forgive me, I'm bad with names. So, but yeah, you want to remember where you are, and I'm gonna give you a hypothetical story that might not be a little hypothetical. So there was let's say there's a situation where you go to these company parties. They're paying for stuff. They're paying for your drinks. They pay for your travel. Even if you go in by car, they'll reimburse your gas. So they're paying for your travel. They are paying for your food, your hotel, right? They're paying for all these different things. And so you could feel like, man, I feel very comfortable here. You might be in a situation where we're all eating in the like in the area where they're providing food, and you're like, man, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat. You want to be mindful of who's watching you, because you might pile on your plate, and it might be like enough for 2-3 people. In your mind, you're like, hey, I could eat this, but the optics of it, people are looking at you. Sometimes you might not know who's looking at you. It might be somebody that's in the senior level in the company, and they're looking at you, and they're like, they're more focused on the fiscal responsibility of the company. They're focused on the bottom line. They know how much this trip has cost the company and all these different things. And then they see you, and they're like, yo, this person is overindulging. And they might look at that as a character flaw. That's how deep they might read into it. So you may not get fired on the spot, but they may look at you and be like, they may remember your face, your name, and they're like, I don't know if this person will be a good idea for a promotion, based off of that one experience. And so I've seen and witnessed things, and I was like, oof, hope nobody else saw that, especially because they do have libations there, and some people might get exactly. Our Mitch said it. Remember where you are, exactly. Because you might want to have a little fun, and that could lead you to a situation. You don't want to be that person that people have stories about. Let's just put it like that. You want to remember where you are. And that leads to another point, because I'm going to keep this nice and short today, unless people have questions. But that leads to another tip that I have, tip number 4, which is you want to be resourceful. And what I mean by being resourceful is you are, especially if you're new to the company, you're a name and a face. And they, especially because you're a remote company, they may know you through Zoom and stuff like that, but they don't really know you, who you are, your character, things of that nature. So when you are in opportunities, like I'll give you an example of something I did myself. So it was difficult to find the room that the SDRs were supposed to be meeting at. Remember, this is a huge company. We had a whole hotel. We like locked it down pretty much. And it was somewhat difficult to find where the rooms were, because it's a big location. But when I found it, I saw that there was not a lot of SDRs there. There wasn't even a door holder at the time. So I said, you know what? I'm going to actually stay and be the door holder / person that lets people come in. And I remember it was a VP of marketing that was like, oh, thank you so much for doing that. And you never know who is watching you. Again, going back to that, remember where you are. And so I'm just being my personal self. Like, hey, welcome to the party. This is where the party's at. This is where. And so that was a great opportunity to be resourceful in that moment. Some people may not look down on things like that and be like, why are you holding the door? This is a hotel. Ask somebody that's a servant, whatever, to do do that. But I'm like in the middle, in that moment, I had an opportunity to stand out. I had an opportunity to be resourceful and to be an asset to my team. And so I found myself after that periodically here and there trying to be helpful in other areas that may not fit my job description or whatever. But again, these company parties, especially if you're working for a remote company, are the only opportunities you are going to get to make a lasting impression. And so that's why I would say be resourceful, volunteer in areas that they may not even ask you to do, be a source of encouragement for those that are working working in the front line. So depending on what department it is, whether it's marketing or other departments, operations, they're probably the ones that are setting up this trip. They're the ones that are doing that. Find out who those people are, and be like, hey, how could I help you? How could I be a resource to you? You're doing a great job. I love what you did with X, Y, and Z. Even if it's something that might be a little bit negative that can help them, but like, hey, I noticed that this was crooked over here. Was that intentional? Da, da, da. Being resourceful like that and being mindful like that, your name will start to ring around the company, and people will going to start to know you. It's so funny. I get to the company, and because of this podcast, and because of this channel, people knew me already. And they said, oh, you're the one with the podcast. And I'm like, yeah. And this person is senior leadership in the company. Yes. Hi, nice to meet you. So and so forth. And so you never know how your reputation precedes you. So you want to make sure you not only meet that, but you surpass that in regards to your rep that you have there. Yeah, I love that. Serve where you can. Serving is the highest form of excellence. I love that. Serving is the highest form of excellence, and I totally agree with that. Because trust me, they're gonna remember you. In fact, if I think about it, let me add a little caveat, and this is separate from the trip. When you get into tech or any job, you want to aim for consistency. In my opinion, this is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. You want to aim for consistency rather than just kind of being up and down, up and down, up and down. What I mean by that, when you're in tech sales, you have a quota that you have to maintain, right? And so by the grace of God, I give all glory to God for this. I was able to maintain my quota every single sales month that I've been there, even to the point right before I took parental leave, which I'm on parental leave right now. I'm on paternity leave for a month. I was able to hit quota right before I left. And the reason why that's important is because by you being consistent and hitting quota, or being consistent, period, whether it's consistent in growing and consistent in learning, they now can trust you with more. And so that's why I was able to receive a promotion as an SDR pretty early on. My manager and I spoke, and I'm going to be promoted again once I get back. And so there is a level of trust that you're given, and that trust comes with promotion. And so you want to be consistent, not just when you're doing your job, but then consistent in in all these trips and things like that. Now, does that mean that you're not going to be making mistakes, or you're not going to have bad days? Obviously, you're going to have those. But besides that, they want to know that they can trust you. And so with that being said, after being resourceful, again, great comment. Thank you so much for sharing that. You want to also do this is the last tip that I have, but it's so huge. You want to network, 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 right? You're number one, you're already prepared in advance. You had fun, but you remember where you are, and then you were also resourceful, but you decide to network. This is huge when I say network, network, network. Again, you're in the room with SVPs, you're in the room with strategic planners, you're in the room with people that are in marketing and all these different areas. You want to be able to say, hey, my name is Joseph. I work as an SDR. I would love to learn a little bit more about what you do. This is what I do. This is a little bit my background. You want to network and have these opportunities, create these opportunities for yourself that are going to set you up. And I have a great story for this. I'm going to actually give a shout out to one of my coworkers. Let's call him D Money. I'm gonna call him D Money. Oh yeah, thank you, appreciate that. Thank you so much, and giving me that, Mitch. I do appreciate that. But let's talk about D Money for a second. D Money, he decided to basically take advantage of an opportunity, and so they had food trucks. If you want to imagine, late night, we just had a big old celebration, a big old party, food and drinks, whatever. They had a bunch of food trucks lined up in the back of the hotel. And so this is late at night where people are grabbing Philly cheesesteaks, all sorts of stuff in the food truck. Company paid for this, by the way. Company, that's how I'm telling you that these trips are fun, but remember where you are. All right, so the company paid for it, and so we're there. A bunch of coworkers, my cohort that got hired, a few other coworkers that people that I met on the trip. We're just there grabbing and eating, and then one of the executive assistants is there, and they're eating with us, and her assistant is there, and we're talking and having a great conversation. And then the executive assistant's boss came, who was a SVP or VP of a VP in the company. And D Money was like, he took the opportunity, said, "Hey, you know what? We're new SDRs. What can you tell us about the company, and how do we stand out? How do we, he's asking these questions." And that interaction was like an hour long of this guy pouring into us, like just dropping gems upon gems. Like I'm there, like, woo, I'm trying to sit back, absorb, ask questions myself. Like it was a moment in time that honestly I have to thank D Money for what he did, because it was a moment in time that allowed us to absorb and learn. It's, yeah, I'm gonna answer that question in a few, Mitch. But yeah, it was a moment in time that allowed us to learn and absorb and grow from from this opportunity that we had to speak with somebody on a senior level who was with the company for a long time. So you are able to build connections. And I actually had an interview with someone who was promoted multiple times. If you get a chance, check out the interview with Antoine Wade. And I even spoke to him afterwards a little bit about it too. But the reason why he decided, and he said in an interview himself, like the reason why he decided to stay in the company and do ladder climbing to get promoted, because he understood the value of relationships. And he understands that sometimes relationships are even infinitely more valuable than a position. you know the relationship, the position could provide you X, Y, and Z, but the relationship could provide you multiple positions over multiple years of time, because you built the relationship on trust. There's a mutual respect, all these different things. So networking is key. Take advantage of networking when you are going on events, because they can truly alter your career, alter your life. It could go beyond just a career, it could go personal as well. And so I had a couple questions here that I wanted to answer. I'm gonna keep this live pretty short, but feel free to put questions in the chat. I got a question from Mitch here. He says, "How many work trips have you been on since you started?" Very good question. So, because of my role as an SDR, this was the major trip. Now, this was a company wide trip, and so there were hundreds, of not almost thousands, over thousands of people there. And so it was a huge event for the company. But since I only been with the company since November of last year, this is the only trip that they have. They might do one more next year. They might do like more annual trips. Um, I don't think they're gonna do another SDR trip or anything like that. So technically, it's one. It's one. Oh yeah, and the one with Antoine is definitely a great interview. So if you missed the Antoine Wade interview that I had, definitely check it. He provides a lot of information, a lot of gems in there, and so I would definitely encourage you to check out that interview. It's really really good. And like I said, I'm going to open this time up for Q&A. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer it. If any thoughts about what was said, feel free to drop it as well. But that's pretty much it. And just to kind of do a little recap, prepare in advance, have fun, remember where you are, be resourceful. Tip number 5: network, network, network. So that's definitely what you want to do. So, question here: do you have any tips for people who are introverted? That is a great question. I would say tips would be, because I had a couple of cohorts that were consider themselves introverts. You could still show your personality, have a good time, and be able to talk to people. I would say you want to look for, instead of thinking mile wide in regards to how many interactions you have with people, you want to think a mile deep, or you want to think about getting a couple of people that you are really interested in getting to meet and trying to have more in-depth conversations with them, because I know after a while it could be overwhelming with all the people. That's how I probably would approach it. And having deeper conversations with the people that you're more focused on speaking with can lead to deeper relationships, and thus who knows where that can help you in regards to progression. And I'm not saying that to use people as a means to an end, but just you want to be able to develop relationships on these trips. So that's my encouragement to people that are introverted. It is fine, you're few people, try to connect with them on a deeper level versus trying to reach out to a bunch of people and talk to them and have shallow conversations. So I've been watching you for a while. You're humble about your business at the same time. I appreciate. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. Um, Life keeps me humble. I could say that the Lord and life keeps me humble. You know, I'm not where I want. I'm not where I'm aiming to be, but I'm growing every day. So I definitely appreciate you saying that. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about my experiences more than I did before. So if you have questions about even other things that have to do with my personal experience in tech, I definitely am open to answering those questions too. Oh, no problem. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks. So actually, let me see if there's something else here. I think I saw something else. But listen, I'm not going to belabor things. So if there's not any other questions, no worries. We could definitely wrap it up here. I just want to thank you, those that, again, Aldrian, did I pronounce it Aldrian or Aldrian? I want to make sure that's right. I have Mitch, Aldrian. I have another Mitch here as well, our Mitch. Thank you all for participating, and those that were watching earlier, thank you for watching. If there are no more questions, I'm going to wrap it up here. But thank you so much, everybody, and I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Be blessed, and have a great rest of your day. Take care, family.